Open up your Bibles to Matthew chapter number 25. We will be continuing along with the parable series. Keeps on getting broken up, different things happening, but that's no problem at all. We had a great week last week with Buster Kinsey here. But now we're going to get back into parables. This morning, we're going to be looking at the parable of the talents, which is basically the story where Jesus gives 5 to one, 3 to the other, and 1 to the other, and we'll see what happens after that. But before we actually start reading this, I want to just explain what a talent was back in that time. Because it's a little bit, actually it's not a little bit different. It's significantly different than what we think of a talent today. Basically, then it was a form of money, and specifically it was a weight ranging somewhere between 20 to 40 kilograms of either gold or silver. And you basically would use that as purchasing power or something to buy something with. So kind of like a form of money of what we do today. And specifically, a typical talent, people have estimated that it could be around 33 kilograms. So if you have 33 kilograms of gold, we're talking about over $1 million worth of stuff. So this is a significant amount of value here. If it was silver, which is probably more likely, it's still a significant amount of money, not as much, but it's usually around 16,000 or more, or maybe a little bit less, depending on how big it is. So we're dealing with money here, and specifically large quantities of money. Just to think about that. But so let's go ahead in Matthew chapter number 25, in verse number 14, we'll begin reading and just go through this story here. It says, "For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling to a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made them other 5 talents. And likewise he that had received 2 also gained other 2. So these first people did what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to go and use this and basically increase the master's supply while he was out, so that when he returned, he had more than he initially left him with. The last one, it says, "But he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. After a long time, the Lord of those servants cometh and reckoneth of them. So he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliveredst unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. His Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. He also that had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, thou deliveredst unto me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained 2 other talents beside me. Now notice this. His Lord said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. Now he only gave 2 talents back, but the first one gave 5 talents back. But the response was exactly the same. Because of the fact that, if you'll notice at the beginning, what was the decision maker of what he was going to do? Look into verse number 15. It said, And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. So he gave each of the servants what they could handle, basically. And all that mattered was that they followed the instructions and they did what they were told and what they were instructed to do with it, which was to increase it while he was away. So even though the second servant wasn't as bringing as much quantity back as the first servant, his reward was exactly the same, because he did what he was supposed to do and he was obedient, and ultimately his increase was the same because he doubled what he was given, and that's what the first one did too. So the Lord was just as pleased with the first one as the second one. But then look at the last one, verse number 24. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine. His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. Take therefore the talent from him, and give it unto him which hath 10 talents. For unto every one that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into the outer darkness. And one verse that really jumps out to me when you think about these stories in the book of Proverbs is, there is that scattereth, and yet increaseth. There is that withholdeth more than is meet, but it tendeth to poverty. So there's just something to think about here. And basically, the issue that they were dealing with here is obedience. Now, we're not specifically being given, thousands, or if it was gold, millions of dollars worth of things individually from the Lord to be able to go and fulfill a purpose of doubling the money or bringing it back for him. But you'll notice that each of these servants was given a specific task, and they were given this task based on their specific ability. Now, the purpose was not to basically store the money for him and have it. It was so that when he left, that when he came back, he had more than he originally had. Now, think about it like this. If the only thing that he cared was that when he returned, the talent would still be there, he could just bury it somewhere and store it himself. So basically what the last servant did, where he just took the talent and he buried it and then, gave it back to him when he returned, there's no difference in that at all than if the guy would have just went out into a field somewhere, dug it and buried it, and then he could have just retrieved it when he got back. He gave it to him for a purpose. And when you're dealing with large quantities of money like this and you're entrusting somebody with it for a long period of time, that's a pretty big deal. If I told you that I was going to leave for 5 years and I wanted to give you, say that I was some multimillionaire or something, I needed to give you $1 million and, keep that and make it grow or whatever while I come back. If I found out you didn't do anything with it, well, I could have just left it in the bank and then maybe I would have at least gotten a 0.0001 interest on it or something. So that's basically what the frustration was here and what the irritation was with the servants in this specific parable. Now, before I really get into our purpose today and how we would look at something like this, I do want to give a side note. As we're talking about money here, a lot of times when we talk about money in church and basically the money that we're given, because we should look at all the different things that we have today as something that comes from God. And we should be good stewards of everything that comes from God, and specifically our money. But often when we come into church, we're just, focused on the first 10%. And that basically we give our first 10% as our tithe, we give that back to the Lord, and then the last 90% is just whatever we feel like doing with it. That is not true. Okay, we still, within that last 90%, we still have responsibilities with it. Oftentimes you'll hear it talked about, and I believe it to be true, both from personal experience and just observations in life and just faith, that God provides for his children. All right, but there's still people that go hungry and Christians that go hungry. But you know what it is it's a mismanagement of priorities rather than God not providing the need. For example, say that it's going to cost me $1,000 in this next month to feed our family and take care of our kids and everything like that. And I've been given $1,000 through either work or something like that God has provided me with the money to do that. But then maybe I want to go buy an Xbox and some different games, and I go spend $1,000, on all that, and then my family starves because we don't have any money to go buy food. All right. Now, did God provide in that situation? Yes, he did. What did I do with it, though? I was a bad steward of it. So oftentimes there needs to be a distinguishment between whether or not God didn't provide and whether God was forsaking his children and not giving them what they needed, or whether we just have a bad steward of what God has given them, and then they're left in a bad situation where they're not able to eat, they're not able to provide for themselves because they didn't do what they were supposed to do with the money that they were given. In America, it's really easy to look around at the abundance that we have and everything, but we should still be thankful and we should still be careful with everything that God gives us, because God still thinks about every single thing that we do. The hairs of our head are numbered. Everything about us God knows and he cares about. And it's important that we are good and faithful stewards of what God has given us. So now today, basically our application of this today, one thing that you'll notice when you're reading through the Gospels, whenever Jesus is referring to his second coming, basically when he's going to return again, he often equates it to going to a far country, and then the focus is on the people left here today, what their job is while he's away. So if you're reading through and it talks about a master going to a far country, typically you're going to be reading about that, and that's referring to basically before the second coming of Christ and what our job is to do. And here, the job is that they're servants, they're given talents based on their ability, and they're given an instruction to do with those talents. So, typically when you're talking about this specific thing, we're talking about talents like singing or preaching or giving or whatever, in just an applicable way that we can do to the church. And it's talking about money here, specifically when it's referring to talents. But you know what? That's completely fine. And I think that's a very accurate interpretation of this, to talk about it like that, because we have been given the ability to do things based on our ability. And it's our job to do what the Lord has given us to do and not to worry about what everybody else does. When you think about this specific situation, imagine being given, imagine that you're one of the three servants and that you see one guy get 5 talents, and then you see another guy get 2 talents. I said 3 earlier, it's actually 2. And then you only receive 1 based off your several ability. Well, it's really easy to look at the guy with 5 talents and, just assuming that it's, silver, that he's got almost $100,000 equivalent of, money to work with and do. And then you look at yourself and you've only got a measly $16,000, in terms of just how we're equating it today. Now, if you're busy focused on that guy over there, sure, he's got significantly more than you. But if I just pulled you aside privately, and you never saw me give large quantities of money to another person, and I said, here's $16,000, go do something with it and make it grow. I can think right now, if someone gave me $16,000, I'd be pretty happy, and I'd have a lot of ideas of stuff that I could do. But when you get so focused on other people, and you get so concerned with somebody else getting a larger quantity, or somebody else getting more ability, then all of a sudden you look at your abilities, and you start thinking, well, there's nothing that I can really do with this. Could you imagine saying that about that significant quantity of money in that day? It's a ridiculous thought. But when you're too busy not looking at yourself and looking at what you've been given to do and worrying about your tasks, and you're worried about other people and other people's abilities and other people's amount of money, other people's talents today, in our word, talent, then you're not going to be able to ever do anything with your amount of money. Go over to the book of John in chapter number 21. There's a similar situation that happened here. This is basically, we're going to pick up right after where Jesus talks about Peter. And this is right after he's seen him, after he denied him 3 times. He tells him 3 times to feed his lambs. Look in John chapter number 21, verse 18, where it says, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, when thou wast young, thou girdest thyself, and walkest whither thou wouldest. But when thou shalt be old, thou shalt stretch forth thy hands, and another shall gird thee, and carry thee whither thou wouldest not. This spake he, signifying by what death he should glorify God. And when he had spoken this, he saith unto him, Follow me. Then Peter turneth about, the disciple whom Jesus loved, following, which also leaned on his breast at supper, and said, Lord, which is he that betrayeth thee? So this is referring to John. It says, Peter, seeing him, saith to Jesus, And Lord, what shall this man do? Jesus saith unto him, If I will that he tarry till I come, what is that to thee? Follow thou me. Then went this saying abroad among the brethren, that the disciple should not die, yet Jesus said not unto him, he shall not die, but if I will that he tarry till I come, what is that to thee? So basically, you have Peter given bad news, and he's talking about just the way that he was going to die. Could you imagine if somebody just came up to you today and just told you exactly how you're going to die? And, I don't want to know that. I hope that it's just peacefully in my sleep, and I didn't even know I was going to die. And just wake up in heaven, and there you go. But that would be bad news. Well, then all of a sudden, he just gets all concerned about what everybody else is going to happen. Because it'd be nice if you just don't have to experience death at all. You just get to experience the return of Christ and just be caught up together with him in the clouds. But he's immediately just starts getting concerned with other people. Well, you know what? It doesn't even matter, though. And that's what Jesus says to him. Who cares what happens with John? I just told you what happens. You need to follow me. At the end of the day, it's very easy to look around and get concerned and worried about everybody else and worry about what everybody else has and what everybody else is doing. But ultimately, the way that we can just listen and follow the Lord to the best of our ability is to worry specifically about ourselves. And, just a little side note here. I don't know specifically if this is what it is, but one interesting thing about this, John is the disciple that Christ used to write the book of Revelation. And so I think it might be another place too, that there's something where it says basically that John is going to see it or something like that. Well, technically John did, because John's account is literally what we have in the book of Revelation. So he saw all of these things take place. I've heard some wild story one time that someone had a theory that John is like immortal and still walking around the earth today. No, that's not true at all. But I do think that you can accurately say that John saw all these things take place because he's who God showed the vision to of all these things taking place. So just a little interesting side note there. But getting back into Matthew chapter number 25, dealing with these parables, you can think about different talents that you might have, just personally in your own, life, and things that you are uniquely given and different perspectives that you have. Personally, I can think in my life of different things and, stuff that I've experienced. For example, just in my own life, I think I've got a pretty good talent, unfortunately, of talking to people and, talking about things like death, because in my own personal family and things like that, I've experienced a lot of it. But I uniquely have the ability to understand what people are going through when they're experiencing that. I know what they want to hear. I know what they don't want to hear, and just being able to do that, God's given me the ability to do that. Now, it would be easy to just get bitter that I've experienced anything like that and not actually want to help anything in it and just go away from everything. But, if you've been given the ability to do something, you should do it. It's important just to take the time to sit back and recognize what type of abilities you have, recognize what type of talents you have, because I don't believe that there's a single person anywhere that has nothing. God has given all of us everything. And if we're walking and breathing and alive on this earth today, we still have a purpose and we can still be used of him. And the important thing is that we all have to recognize and understand that we all have instructions today. We all have instructions as individuals, and we all have instructions as a local church as a whole. And this church specifically was put here in this area to reach this area and to be able to get the gospel to people and be able to open the doors up and welcome people in so that they can be saved, teach them about the Bible and all these other things. And there's a lot of moving pieces and different functionality that goes into a church. And the important thing is to recognize that though you might not be the person standing here, you might not be the person playing the piano, you might not be playing an instrument, you might not be one that's called on to pray, you might not take the offering, but you have a purpose, and it's more than just sitting and listening to a sermon. You have a purpose. Maybe that purpose is just prayer. And just taking significant amounts of time to just pray for the ministry here, pray for the leadership of the church, pray for the offering, that it would be used in a way that would continue the spreading of the gospel in this area and even beyond the Lancaster area with all the missionaries that we support. Every single person in the church has an applicable thing that they should be responsible for and that they should take into consideration. And no responsibility is less than the other. When you think about the body of Christ, and you think about the illustration of basically the eyes and the mouth and the nose, the hands, and everything like that. Imagine waking up this morning and you didn't have any feet, and you're just trying to walk around on your shins, basically, because you don't have anything. That'd be extremely uncomfortable. Honestly, you wouldn't be able to do it. Even if you just cut your toes off, you'd be surprised how much balance that your toes provide you, and being able to walk around. So every little tiny thing is important, even though you don't think that much about it. When you're looking at me right now, you should be focused on my head, because that's where all the sound's coming out of, and, just thinking about that. But you know what? My legs are helping me to stand. My arms are probably helping me to just express something even more. Every little bit of my body is functioning in some way right now to help me stand. And every single member of this church is important in some way, shape, or form, even if it might not be in a way that takes place up on this platform. And when you wake up in the morning and you think to yourself, I wonder if I'm going to go to church or not, your absence affects this church in a negative way. Even if you don't think so, even if you think I don't have anything going on in church today, I don't have any purpose, it has a negative effect because we're all a body of people. You know what that effect might be that you don't even realize is how encouraging your presence can be to another person, that's here. You might not even realize it. And I can't think off the top of my head of one person specifically that I'm looking forward to see. But you know what? There's just collectively a lot of people, that when I walk into church, I want to see them. I want to see how they're doing. I want to ask them how their week has been or what they've been up to lately. But then if they're not there, it's just disappointing. I'm still going to come. I'm still going to sit in the service. I'm still going to sing the hymns or do whatever I might be responsible for that day. But it's still disappointing when we don't have everybody here that we would want to be here, and every person that comes is important. And even if you don't feel like that's true, that is true. Your prayer requests, when you bring a prayer request and you talk about a dire situation, I really want to hear, an update on that, or how that's going, or whatever, so we can continue to know how to pray for that person. Or if if you've got a family member, imagine inviting a visitor to church and then they actually come, because you learn over time, you invite people to church, they say they're going to come and then they don't show up. But what if that one, 20th of a time, the visitor shows up and you just decided to sleep in that morning? Well, then your visitor is there looking around and am I even at the right place right now? Because this person that talked to me isn't here, You don't want to do that to somebody. And ideally you're inviting somebody to church on a regular basis and not just to a specific service. So maybe that guy you invited 6 months ago to come is finally going to get around to doing it, and you're not here. Well, they might not ever come back. So there's just a lot to think about. And honestly, when it comes to this type of situation, this is an easy thing to look at this story and see how, hey, person A, 5 talents, they have a responsibility. Person B, 2 talents, they have a responsibility. And then person C, 1 talent. And we can easily look and identify what their talents are, what their roles are, what their responsibilities are, and how they should be using those to fulfill the master's purpose that he has given them. But in our situation, nobody in here just has a list that they can look out that printed off at their house that shows all of the different areas that they have been given and all of the talents that they have been given in order to either serve in the church or just serve the Lord in another capacity or anything like that. All of that stuff, this is an incredibly introspective thing where you need to look and think deeply and spend time in prayer and ask the Lord what he would have you to do. Because if you never do that, you never know, you're not going to know. And you might have been given something that the Lord would want you to do and that the Lord counts on you to do. And until he comes back, that's your responsibility. Or until you would die, it's your responsibility to do those things. it's important to take consideration into what those things are. And, I don't want to just give an exhaustive list of examples of what those things are. You'll hear preaching, singing, prophesying, whatever. And there's lists of spiritual gifts that you can get out and you can read about in the Bible. But, everybody has some kind of purpose. And it's easy, if I just read off a big list up here, you could listen to it, no, okay, none of those things, I don't have anything. No, you do have something, And what that is, I don't know. The only person that is truly going to know is you. You know what your talents are. You know what your abilities are. You know what your presence in this church is. You know what other people are counting on you for. Nobody else can identify that other than yourself. And so the important thing is to sit back and understand the weight and the gravity and the magnitude of what you've been given. The Bible says very clearly that we've been bought with a price. We didn't receive our free salvation to just sit back and relax until the day of the Lord comes and we're all caught up together with him in the clouds. But we do have to understand that we have responsibilities. We have something that we've been given. And if we don't do that, then we're going to be held accountable for that someday. And so I just want you to, just take some time this week to just think about these talents. Think about these servants. It's very easy to look at the last servant and get frustrated with him because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. But how many times do we fall short and do we not do what we're supposed to do and what we should be required to do? So just a lot of different things to think about. Seriously, take time this week. We don't just go through, different lessons in Sunday school to learn a new fact about the Bible. We learn about the Bible to apply it to our lives and become better servants for him. So think about this week. What could you do to be closer to the Lord, to serve him better? What has he given you to do that you have the unique ability to help another person? So let's close in word of prayer and then we'll be dismissed. Father, I thank you so much for this day, Lord. I thank you for this parable, Lord, specifically where we get to look at the example of these three different individuals, Lord. I pray that you help us not to be concerned about what other people have or what other people have been given, Lord, but just to worry about ourselves and worry about what you've given to us to do, and that we would be able to serve you with all that we can in the capacity that you've given us the ability to, Lord. Help us to do that and be with us as we go throughout the next service today and the service this evening. In Jesus' name, amen. You're dismissed.